Queen Zara stood on the crystal balcony of her palace, watching the twin suns of Valeria Prime set over the capital city. The golden light reflected off the metallic towers that stretched toward the sky, each one a symbol of her empire's power. Ships moved through the air lanes like glowing insects, carrying goods and people across the vast metropolis. Everything she could see belonged to her empire, and everything beyond the horizon did too. Your Majesty, the council meeting will begin soon. The voice belonged to Commander Vex, her chief military advisor. His blue-scaled skin caught the evening light as he bowed his massive frame. Like all Valerians, Vex stood nearly 8 feet tall, with muscles that could bend steel and reflexes faster than most species could track. I will be there shortly, Zara replied, not turning from the view. She heard his heavy footsteps retreat into the palace. Even among her own people, Zara was impressive. At 7.5 feet tall, with the traditional golden scales that marked royal blood, she commanded respect through presence alone. Her strength could crush stone, and her mind could process battle strategies faster than most computers. Yet tonight, like many nights recently, her thoughts were not on empire business. They were on Ben. She found him where she always did in the evenings, in the small garden he had created behind the palace library. The space had once been empty stone, but over 3 years, Ben had transformed it into something beautiful. Earth plants grew alongside Valerian flowers, creating combinations that should not have worked but somehow did. The sight always made Zara smile. Ben knelt beside a patch of small blue flowers, his hands gentle as he tended to them. His brown hair fell across his forehead, and dirt stained his simple clothes. At just over 6 feet tall, he looked tiny compared to any Valerian, but Zara had long stopped seeing him as small. To her, he was perfect. The council meeting is starting, she said softly, not wanting to startle him. Ben looked up and smiled. It was the same warm smile that had captured her heart 3 years ago when he arrived as part of the human diplomatic mission. How did it go with the trade agreements? Boring, Zara admitted. The Centauri delegates spent 2 hours arguing about shipping routes. I kept thinking about how you handle these things so much better than I do. Ben stood and brushed the dirt from his hands. You give me too much credit. You built this empire, not me. We are partners, Zara said firmly. Your wisdom has guided many of my decisions. It was true, though few others saw it that way. When Zara announced her engagement to the human diplomat, the reaction had been mixed at best. Many Valerians respected humans as clever negotiators and skilled traders, but they saw them as physically weak. The idea of their warrior queen marrying someone who looked like he might blow away in a strong wind had shocked the nobility. Lady Zara approaches, Ben said quietly, looking toward the garden entrance. Zara turned to see Lady Kess, one of her senior advisors, walking toward them. Kess was old-fashioned even by Valerian standards. She believed that strength was the only thing that mattered in leadership, and she had never hidden her disapproval of Zara's choice in husband. Your Majesty, Kess said with a formal bow. The council grows impatient. Of course, Zara said. She turned to Ben. Will you join us tonight? I think I will stay here, Ben replied. The Carillion trade dispute sounds technical. You do not need me getting in the way. Kess nodded approvingly. Wise of him to know his place. Zara felt her temper flare, but Ben simply smiled. I prefer books to politics anyway. Have a good meeting. As they walked toward the council chamber, Kess spoke in low tones. Your Majesty, I mean no disrespect, but perhaps it would be better if your husband attended fewer official functions. Some of the nobles are beginning to question whether he truly understands the weight of leadership. Ben understands more than most, Zara said coldly. I am sure he does, in his own way. But he lacks the presence that inspires fear in our enemies. When other empires see the Valerian queen married to such a gentle creature, they may think we have grown soft. Zara stopped walking. Are you questioning my judgment, Lady Kess? Never, Your Majesty. I only worry about how others might perceive weakness where none exists. The council chamber buzzed with conversation when they entered. 20 of the Empire's most powerful leaders sat around the circular table, their voices creating a low rumble. The room fell silent as Zara took her place at the head of the table. We have several matters to discuss tonight, she began. First, the Carillion trade dispute. For the next 2 hours, they debated shipping routes, tariff agreements, and mining rights. Zara found her mind wandering to the garden, where Ben was probably reading under the soft glow of the bioluminescent plants they had discovered on their honeymoon trip to Serra 4. What about the Korth Syndicate reports? Asked General Rack, the Empire's highest military commander. Zara focused her attention. What reports? Intelligence suggests they have been building military forces near our border worlds. Nothing confirmed, but the activity level has increased. The Korth have been quiet for 5 years, said Admiral Tess. They know better than to challenge us directly. Perhaps, General Rack replied. But our scouts have detected unusual ship movements. Large formations traveling under communication blackout. Double the patrol schedules along the border, Zara ordered. I want to know immediately if they make any aggressive moves. Yes, Your Majesty, General Rack said. Should we inform your husband about the situation? Lady Kess snorted softly. What use would that be? He has no military experience. Ben served as a negotiator during the Terran peace talks, Zara said firmly. His insights into conflict resolution have value. Of course, Your Majesty, Kess replied, though her tone suggested otherwise. After the meeting ended, Zara found Ben exactly where she expected, curled up in their private chamber with a book. The room was decorated simply, a mix of Valerian and human styles that somehow worked together perfectly. Ben had insisted on bringing his collection of physical books from Earth, claiming that reading on screens was not the same experience. How did the meeting go? He asked, marking his place and setting the book aside. The usual politics, Zara said, settling beside him on their massive bed. Though there may be some military concerns brewing. The Korth? Zara looked at him in surprise. How did you know? The patrol patterns changed 3 days ago. More ships, longer routes. It was logical to assume someone was watching our borders more closely. You notice everything, Zara said with admiration. I pay attention because I care about your safety, Ben replied. Though I am sure your military advisors have everything under control. They talked quietly about small things, the progress of the garden, a trade agreement Ben had been reviewing, plans for their upcoming anniversary celebration. As always, Ben listened more than he spoke, asking thoughtful questions and offering gentle suggestions. Sometimes I wonder what you were like before you came here, Zara said as they prepared for sleep. Boring, Ben replied with a smile. Just another diplomat shuffling papers and attending meetings. I doubt that. Human diplomats are known for their intelligence and skill. The peace treaty you helped negotiate between Terra and Antares Prime was brilliant work. I was part of a team. Many people contributed to that success. Zara had learned that Ben always deflected praise this way. He seemed genuinely uncomfortable when people acknowledged his abilities, preferring to stay in the background and let others take credit for accomplishments. The next morning brought routine activities. Zara attended a ceremony honoring new military graduates while Ben worked in his small office, reviewing trade proposals and cultural exchange programs. She watched him through the garden window during a break in the ceremonies. He sat at his simple desk, completely focused on the documents before him. Several times, Valerian staff members approached with questions, and she noticed how they spoke to him with polite respect but obvious condescension. The human certainly keeps busy, commented Lady Kess, following Zara's gaze. Ben works harder than most of my advisors, Zara replied. I am sure he does his best. Though one wonders if busy work is the same as meaningful contribution. Zara turned to face the older woman. What exactly are you suggesting, Lady Kess? Nothing inappropriate, Your Majesty. I simply observe that your husband seems more suited to managing gardens than participating in empire governance. Ben's advice has prevented 3 trade wars and helped establish 4 new colonial agreements in the past year alone. Yes, Your Majesty. Of course. That afternoon, emergency alarms began sounding across the capital city. Zara rushed to the command center, where General Rack and Admiral Tess were studying multiple display screens showing ship positions throughout the system. Report, Zara ordered. Massive Korth fleet dropping out of hyperspace at multiple points around the system, Admiral Tess said grimly. At least 200 ships, including several dreadnought-class vessels. How did they get so close without detection? Unknown. They must have been using some kind of stealth technology we have not encountered before. General Rack pointed to the main display. They are moving in coordinated attack formations toward the capital world and our 3 major military bases. This is not a raid or demonstration. This is a full invasion. Zara felt her blood chill. The Korth Syndicate was known for ruthless efficiency and overwhelming force. If they were committing this many resources to an attack, they believed they could win. All defensive systems to maximum alert, she ordered. Contact our allied fleets and request immediate assistance. How long until they reach optimal attack range? 6 hours, maybe 7, Admiral Tess replied. Your Majesty, a technician called from across the room. Incoming transmission from the Korth Fleet Commander. Put it through. The main screen shifted to show a massive reptilian face covered in scars. Commander Scar of the Korth Syndicate was known throughout the galaxy for his cruelty and strategic brilliance. Queen Zara, Scar said, his voice like grinding stone. Surrender now and your people will be allowed to live as workers in the new order. Resist, and we will turn your precious capital into rubble. The Valerian Empire does not surrender to raiders and pirates, Zara replied coldly. We shall see how long your pride lasts when your fleets are burning wreckage, Scar laughed. You have 6 hours to reconsider. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in tense silence. Can we hold them off until Allied reinforcements arrive? Zara asked. General Rack looked grim. Our defensive fleets are strong, but they outnumber us 3-1. The nearest Allied forces are 18 hours away at best. Then we fight with what we have, Zara said. Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from the capital. All civilians to the emergency shelters. As orders flew around the command center, Zara thought about Ben, probably still working quietly in his office, unaware that their world was about to change forever. The next few hours passed like a nightmare that would not end. Zara stood in the command center watching red lights flash across dozens of screens. Each light represented a Korth ship moving closer to her home world. The defensive fleets were already engaging the enemy at the system's outer edges, but the reports coming back were not good. 7th Fleet is taking heavy casualties, Admiral Tess reported, her voice tight with strain. The Korth weapons are more advanced than our intelligence suggested. What about the 9th Fleet? Zara asked. Still holding position around the moon base, but they are outnumbered 4-1. General Rack approached with a grim expression. Your Majesty, we need to begin emergency protocols. The enemy is breaking through our outer defenses faster than expected. Zara nodded. She had hoped their fleets could hold the attackers long enough for Allied reinforcements to arrive, but that hope was fading quickly. Begin evacuation of the palace staff. Essential personnel only in the command areas. What about your husband? Lady Kess asked. Should we move him to the secure bunker? Yes, Zara said immediately. Send a security team to escort him there now. A young officer saluted. I will handle it personally, Your Majesty. 20 minutes later, the same officer returned looking confused. Your Majesty, we cannot locate Lord Ben anywhere in the palace. What do you mean? Zara felt a cold fear grip her heart. He was not in his office, the garden, or your private chambers. The staff said they last saw him about an hour ago near the maintenance levels. The maintenance levels? General Rack frowned. What would he be doing down there? Find him, Zara ordered. Search every room if necessary. Yes, Your Majesty. The battle continued to rage in space above them. Through the palace's crystal dome, Zara could see flashes of light as ships exploded in the darkness. Each flash might represent hundreds of her people dying to protect their world. Incoming transmission from Commander Scar, a technician announced. The reptilian face appeared on screen again, but this time he was smiling. Your fleet is breaking apart like toys, Queen Zara. My forces will reach your planet in 2 hours. This is your last chance to surrender. Never, Zara replied. Then watch your empire burn. The transmission ended just as another alarm began sounding. What now? Zara demanded. Landing craft are breaking through the atmosphere, Admiral Tess reported. They are heading directly for the capital city. How many? At least 50 ships. They are carrying ground assault troops. General Rack stepped forward. Your Majesty, you need to move to the emergency command bunker. We cannot protect you here if enemy troops reach the palace. Zara looked around the command center. Her people were doing everything possible to defend their world, but the situation was getting worse by the minute. How long can the palace shields hold against a ground assault? Maybe an hour if we are lucky, General Rack admitted. Then we relocate the command center to the bunker. But I want search teams to keep looking for Ben. The emergency command bunker was located 3 levels underground, built to withstand almost any attack. As Zara's essential staff moved their equipment to the new location, she could not stop thinking about her missing husband. Where could he have gone? Why would he leave the safety of the palace during an attack? Your Majesty, called Commander Vex from the communications station. The Korth ground forces have landed. They are moving toward the city center in 3 main groups. Our ground defenses? Fighting hard, but they are using some kind of energy weapon we have not seen before. Our shields are not stopping them effectively. The next hour was filled with increasingly bad news. The Korth forces pushed through the city's defenses like they were made of paper. The weapons they carried seemed designed specifically to counter Valerian technology. Someone had given them detailed information about the Empire's military capabilities. They have reached the outer palace perimeter, reported a young officer. Our guards are falling back to the inner defenses. Zara felt helpless. All her life, she had solved problems through strength and decisive action. But now, trapped in an underground bunker while her people died above, she could do nothing but wait and hope. The shield generators are failing, Commander Vex announced. The palace barriers will collapse in minutes. How long until Allied reinforcements arrive? Zara asked. 16 hours at best, Admiral Tess replied quietly. Too late. Far too late. An explosion shook the bunker, causing dust to fall from the ceiling. Emergency lights flickered, and several screens went dark. They have breached the palace, General Rack said. Ground troops are moving through the upper levels. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights went out completely for several seconds before the emergency power kicked in. Your Majesty, a security officer said urgently. We need to move you to the deeper levels. They are fighting their way down. No, Zara said firmly. I will not hide while my people die. We make our stand here. Your Majesty, that is not wise, Lady Kess protested. I am the Queen of the Valerian Empire. If this is where we fall, then this is where I will be. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the corridors above them. Shouts and running footsteps grew louder as the battle moved closer. Zara drew her ceremonial sword, a blade that had been in her family for generations. Around her, the remaining palace guards checked their weapons and prepared for the final fight. The blast doors to the bunker exploded inward with a deafening roar. Smoke filled the room as heavily armed Korth soldiers poured through the opening. Their leader was massive even by Korth standards, wearing battle armor that looked like it could stop a tank shell. Queen Zara, the figure said, removing his helmet to reveal a scarred reptilian face. It was Commander Scar himself. How nice to meet you in person. Commander, Zara replied, raising her sword. Come to finish this yourself? I always prefer to handle important matters personally, Scar said. Your resistance has been more troublesome than expected, but it ends now. 20 Korth soldiers spread out around the room, their weapons aimed at Zara and her remaining guards. The situation was hopeless, but Zara would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her fear. Surrender now and I will allow your people to live as workers, Scar continued. Refuse, and I will turn this world into a graveyard. The Valerian Empire does not surrender to murderers and thieves. Scar laughed, a harsh sound like breaking stone. Such pride. It will be amusing to watch it crumble. Sir, one of his soldiers called out. There is someone approaching the bunker entrance. Scar frowned. What do you mean? A single figure. Appears to be unarmed. Probably another palace guard trying to be heroic. Deal with him. A few moments later, footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. They were calm and measured, not the hurried steps of someone running into battle. A figure appeared in the doorway, and Zara's heart stopped. It was Ben. He stood there in his simple civilian clothes, looking completely out of place in the destroyed bunker. In his hands, he carried what appeared to be an ordinary maintenance toolkit. His expression was calm, almost peaceful. Scar stared at the human for several seconds before bursting into laughter. This is your great rescue? A human maintenance worker? Ben, get out of here. Zara shouted. Run. But Ben did not run. Instead, he walked calmly into the room, setting his toolkit down on a damaged console. Hello, Zara. Sorry I am late. How touching, Scar sneered. The Queen's pet has come to die with her. Very romantic. Ben, please, Zara whispered. You need to leave now. Ben opened his toolkit and began removing items that did not look like maintenance equipment at all. Small devices that hummed with energy, tools that seemed to shift and change shape in his hands. What is he doing? One of the Korth soldiers asked nervously. It does not matter, Scar said. Kill the human first. Let the Queen watch her beloved die. 5 soldiers turned their weapons toward Ben. That was when everything changed. Ben moved. It was not the gentle, careful movement Zara was used to seeing. This was something else entirely. He flowed like water, faster than her eyes could track. The first soldier's weapon was in Ben's hands before the alien even realized he had moved. A device from Ben's toolkit attached to the gun, and suddenly the weapon was firing at the other Korth soldiers instead of at Ben. But the energy beams were not the deadly bolts Zara expected. Instead, they seemed to wrap around the soldiers like glowing nets, paralyzing them instantly. Within seconds, half of Scar's force was immobilized on the floor, conscious but unable to move. What is this? Scar roared, raising his own massive weapon. Ben was already there, moving behind the Korth commander with impossible speed. Something small and silver flew from his hand, attaching to Scar's armor. The powerful alien suddenly found himself frozen in place, his weapon clattering to the floor. The remaining soldiers tried to fight, but it was useless. Ben moved through them like they were standing still, disabling weapons and immobilizing enemies with tools that seemed to defy physics. In less than 2 minutes, every Korth soldier in the room was helpless. Throughout the entire fight, Ben had not seriously injured a single enemy. He had simply made them unable to continue fighting. Zara stared at her husband in complete shock. The gentleman who grew flowers and read books had just defeated an elite Korth assault team single-handedly. And he had done it with technology that seemed generations ahead of anything she knew existed. Ben, she whispered. What are you? He turned to look at her, and for a moment she saw something different in his eyes. Something sharp and dangerous that had never been there before. Then he smiled his familiar warm smile, and he was her husband again. "I am exactly who I have always been," he said quietly. "I just have not told you everything about my background." Scar was struggling against his paralysis, his eyes filled with rage and confusion. "What kind of human are you?" Ben walked over to the Korth commander and knelt beside him. "The kind your intelligence reports missed," he said simply. "The kind that has been watching your syndicate for a very long time." He stood and turned to Zara. "We should probably take back control of your palace now. I imagine your people would like to know their queen is safe." Zara looked at the immobilized enemies, then at the impossible devices scattered around the room, then at her husband's calm face. Nothing made sense anymore. The man she thought she knew had just revealed abilities that seemed to come from science fiction. "Who are you really?" she asked. Ben picked up his toolkit and began putting his strange devices away. "Someone who loves you very much and takes protecting you very seriously. Everything else can wait until after we deal with the rest of the invasion force." As if his words were a signal, new voices echoed in the corridor outside. But these were Valerian voices, shouting orders and coordinating movements. Somehow, Ben's victory over the assault team had changed everything. "Your Majesty." Commander Vex appeared in the doorway, his armor scorched but his expression relieved. "The Korth forces are retreating. Their command structure has collapsed, and their ships are fleeing the system." Zara looked from Vex to Ben and back again. "How is that possible?" Ben closed his toolkit and smiled. "It turns out they were not as prepared for this fight as they thought they were. The throne room had been restored to its former glory within hours of the Korth retreat. Valerian efficiency at its finest, Zara thought as she stood before the great crystal windows watching repair crews fix the last of the damage. But even with everything looking normal again, nothing felt the same. Ben sat quietly in one of the side chairs, reading a report on his tablet. To anyone else, he looked exactly like he always had, gentle, thoughtful, completely ordinary. But Zara could not stop thinking about what she had witnessed in the bunker. The speed, the technology, the way he had handled trained killers like they were children playing at war. "Your Majesty," Commander Vex entered the room with a formal bow. "The Korth prisoners are secure, and our intelligence teams are beginning interrogations." "Good. What about their fleet?" "Completely gone. They fled the system faster than our sensors could track. Whatever your husband did down there, it sent a message that reached their entire command structure." Zara glanced at Ben, who had not looked up from his reading. "Any casualties among our forces?" "Surprisingly few, considering the size of their assault. Most of their weapons and equipment simply stopped working during the battle. Our troops are calling it a miracle." "Perhaps it was," Zara said quietly. After Vex left, silence filled the throne room. Zara waited for Ben to speak, to explain what had happened. But he continued reading as if nothing unusual had occurred. "Ben," she said finally. "Yes. We need to talk." He set down his tablet and looked at her with those familiar brown eyes that suddenly seemed to hold secrets she had never noticed. "I suppose we do. Who are you really?" Ben was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that had never been there before. "My name is Ben Torres. I was born on Earth Colony 7. I am 32 years old. I love gardening, classical music, and reading history books. I am completely devoted to you and would do anything to protect you. All of that is true. But I am also a Shadow Corps operative, assigned to monitor and protect Valerian leadership from external threats." Zara felt something cold settle in her stomach. "You were assigned to me? This whole marriage, was it just a mission?" The pain that flashed across Ben's face was genuine and immediate. "No. Zara, please listen to me carefully. I was assigned to establish diplomatic contact with you 3 years ago. That part was my job. But everything that happened after, everything between us, that was real. I fell in love with you the first week I was here. Shadow Core, Zara repeated. I have heard rumors. Human special forces that operate in secret throughout the galaxy. More than special forces. We are intelligence, diplomatic protection, and strategic intervention all combined. Every major human diplomatic mission includes at least one Shadow Corps member. Strategic intervention, Zara said slowly. Like stopping invasions? Ben nodded. The Korth Syndicate has been planning this attack for over a year. We knew it was coming, but we needed them to commit fully before we could act. If we had stopped them too early, they would have just tried again later. You knew. Zara's voice was flat. You knew they were going to attack my world, and you said nothing. I could not risk compromising the operation. If the Korth suspected we were ready for them, they might have changed their plans or brought even more force. My people died today, Ben. Hundreds of them. And thousands more would have died if we had not stopped this properly, Ben replied, his voice gentle but firm. The Korth were planning to use this attack as a stepping stone to conquer the entire Valerian Empire. Today was never just about one world. Zara turned away from him, staring out at the city lights. So humans have been manipulating galactic politics this entire time. Not manipulating. Protecting. Humanity learned long ago that the galaxy is a dangerous place for civilizations that cannot defend themselves. We choose to help. By lying to your allies. Ben stood and walked to her side. By doing what is necessary to keep the peace. Zara, if every species in the galaxy knew humanity's true capabilities, what do you think would happen? She considered the question. Fear. Suspicion. Probably war. Exactly. So we let others think we are just clever diplomats and successful traders. We stay in the background and help where we can. Most of our allies never know how many times we have quietly prevented conflicts that would have destroyed them. What are humanity's true capabilities? Ben was quiet for several seconds. Our technology is about 50 years ahead of what most species believe. Our military is small but extremely advanced. Our intelligence network spans most of the known galaxy. We have prevented 17 major wars in the past decade alone. 17. Zara stared at him. How? Sometimes by providing information to the right people at the right time. Sometimes by diplomatic intervention. Sometimes by making sure that aggressive species lose the ability to fight before they start. Like you did today with the Korth weapons. We have been preparing for this attack for months. Every piece of Korth technology has hidden vulnerabilities that we built in through their suppliers. When I activated the shutdown codes today, their entire invasion force became helpless. Zara shook her head in amazement. You built vulnerabilities into their weapons? How is that possible? Humans are very good at making friends, Ben said with a small smile. We have trading relationships and cultural exchanges with hundreds of species. Many of them do business with groups like the Korth Syndicate without realizing it. A few modifications to manufacturing processes here and there, and suddenly we can disable any equipment that uses those components. That is incredible, Zara admitted. But why tell me now? Why risk exposing your operations? Because I love you more than I love my job, Ben said simply. And because you deserve to know the truth about who you married. Your superiors will not be happy about this. Actually, they have been expecting it. Shadow Corps protocol requires full disclosure to spouses after 3 years of marriage. They were wondering why I had not told you yet. Zara turned to look at him. They knew you would fall in love with me. They hoped I would. A genuine emotional connection makes the protection assignment much more effective. Harder to fake, harder to compromise. So they planned this too. Ben shook his head. They planned for the possibility. But what happened between us, that was entirely real. I chose you, Zara. Not because of orders or strategy, but because you are an amazing person who makes me want to be better than I am. Before Zara could respond, the throne room doors opened. A woman entered wearing simple clothes similar to Ben's, but something in her posture immediately marked her as dangerous. She was human, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. Ben, she said in English. We need to debrief. Director Parks, Ben replied, also switching to English. I was not expecting you. The Korth operation was larger than anticipated. Council wants a full report. She looked at Zara and switched to perfect Valerian. Your Majesty, I am Director Sarah Parks, Shadow Corps Central Command. I apologize for the dramatic circumstances of our meeting. Director, Zara replied carefully. I suppose you are here to tell me to keep quiet about what I have learned. Actually, I am here to offer you a partnership. Parks smiled, and suddenly she looked less dangerous and more like a skilled diplomat. The Valerian Empire is one of humanity's closest allies. Recent events have proven that closer cooperation would benefit both our civilizations. What kind of cooperation? Intelligence sharing. Joint operations against mutual threats. Cultural and technological exchange programs. The kind of partnership that could help both our peoples thrive in an increasingly dangerous galaxy. Ben moved closer to Zara. The choice is yours. I will understand if you decide this is too complicated. Zara looked between her husband and the Shadow Corps director. 3 days ago, her biggest concern had been trade negotiations. Now she was being offered a secret alliance with one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. What would this partnership mean for our marriage, she asked. Ben would remain as your liaison and protection detail, Director Parks replied. But he would also serve as our official ambassador to the Valerian Empire. No more secrets between you, and no more hiding his abilities. I could continue my current duties while being honest about my background, Ben added. The best of both situations. Zara considered everything she had learned. Humanity was not the simple trading partner most species believed them to be. They were subtle, powerful, and apparently dedicated to maintaining galactic peace through careful intervention. The technology Ben had used was generations beyond anything she had imagined possible. There would be advantages to such a partnership, she admitted. But my council will have questions. We can provide answers, Director Parks said. Selected members of your government would be given full briefings on human capabilities and ongoing operations. Complete transparency within the partnership. And if I refuse? Then Ben submits his resignation from Shadow Corps and remains your husband, Parks replied without hesitation. We do not break up marriages for political convenience. Ben looked surprised. Director. You have served with distinction for 8 years, Ben. If you choose love over duty, the Corps will respect that decision. Zara felt something warm expand in her chest. Even knowing that Ben might leave his career for her, the fact remained that he was offering her a choice freely made. I accept the partnership, she said. But I want Ben as my co-ruler, not just my liaison. If we are going to work together as civilizations, we should work together as equals. Co-ruler? Director Parks raised an eyebrow. The Valerian Empire needs to evolve, Zara said firmly. Recent events have shown me that my people have been thinking too narrowly about galactic politics. Having a human partner in government would signal our commitment to broader cooperation. Ben stared at her. Zara, are you sure? That would be a massive change for your empire. It would be a massive improvement, she replied. You have been giving me excellent advice for 3 years. It is time to make that official. Director Parks smiled. I think this partnership is going to be very interesting. Over the following weeks, the changes came quickly. The Valerian Council was shocked to learn the truth about Ben's background, but the evidence of human capabilities was impossible to argue with. Lady Kess, who had questioned Ben's qualifications so often, became one of his strongest supporters after witnessing recordings of his action against the Korthasol team. The formal announcement of Ben's elevation to co-ruler was met with surprising approval from the Valerian people. They had seen him save their queen and their world. His gentle nature, combined with his hidden strength, appealed to something deep in the Valerian character. 3 months later, Zara stood in the same crystal balcony where this story had begun. The view was the same, but everything else had changed. Trade ships from dozens of human worlds now filled the space lanes alongside traditional Valerian partners. Joint patrol fleets maintained security throughout the system. And in the garden below, Ben was teaching a group of Valerian children how to grow earth vegetables. No regrets? Ben asked, joining her on the balcony. None, Zara replied, taking his hand. Though I still cannot believe you hid those combat skills for 3 years. I am very good at hiding things when necessary. What else have you not told me? Ben smiled mysteriously. Well, I may have understated my cooking abilities. I make an excellent lasagna. Zara laughed. Show me tonight. As they watched the twin suns set over their empire, Zara reflected on how much her world had expanded. The galaxy was far more complex and dangerous than she had realized, but it was also full of allies and possibilities she had never imagined. And at the center of it all was her partnership with Ben, no longer the gentle consort protecting his queen's feelings, but an equal partner ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring.